Hello, my name's Hugh Vaugh. I'm one of the teaching professionals at the Bonita Bay Club, and we're here this morning to discuss the chipping technique. There seems to be some question about what's the difference between a chip shot and a pitch shot. And generally, a chip shot is when you're closer to the green, you want to fly the ball a short distance and let it roll the rest of the way. A pitch shot is you're generally further from the green where you want to fly the ball higher in the air and not let it roll as much. Now, there's exceptions to both rules in the chipping and pitching, which we can discuss a little bit later. I'd like to start off with the setup. And the setup in the chipping stroke is equally as important as the setup in a full swing. Number one, when you're close to the green, you want to grip down a little bit for extra control. It would be like a baseball player if they would bunt. They want to have better control of the bat. We're going to grip down a little bit on the club for better control. It's very important that you also keep your grip pressure very light, because chipping and short game is basically feel. Once you get the fundamentals down, it's all about having the feel for the length of the stroke you want and the tempo. So if you're holding the club too tightly, that can take away from your feel. Okay, we're going to take a very narrow stance, and we're going to place the ball for a right-handed golfer a little bit right of center. It's an easy way to remember ball position for right-handers. If you want the ball to run after it lands, play it closer to your right foot. If you were left-handed going this way, we'd play the ball to the left of center. Okay, so right for run for right-handed golfers. Okay, you can take a square stance. I'll do it for you this way, with your feet, or if you prefer to open your feet by pulling the left foot back, that's fine too. Because on a shorter stroke, we're not really using the hips and lower body that much. Okay, so we'll play the ball a little right of center. This is really important, that we want to take our hands and move them forward of the ball and lean the shaft left. And we're going to create a straight line from the left shoulder all the way to the club head from the front view. Okay, we're also going to lean our body left, putting more weight on the left leg and left side. This will encourage us to contact the ball first and then clip some grass, go down through it. Especially important off a real tight lie if you're on the fairway. We don't want to try to lift the ball in the air, help it. We want to go down and through it. And we'll discuss that more when we actually play some shots. Okay, the other thing that's very important from the side view, though, you want your arms to hang straight down and relax. We want to make sure we push our hands and wrists down, creating a definite angle from the arms to the club shaft. This from the side view. If we have a straight line here, we create extra tension in the forearms and wrists, which we want to avoid tension in all parts of the golf game, especially short game and chipping and pitching. Okay, the other most important thing is you want to take the club face, the bottom edge of your iron, and make sure that it is perpendicular to your target and your target line, which is simply an imaginary line from your target to the ball. So this really is the important part of the setup. With one last thing I'd like to add, the alignment of the shoulders should always be slightly left of your target or parallel to the left of your target line. It's like a railroad track. The right track will be the target line, imaginary line from the target to the ball. Shoulders will be the left track. If your shoulders are aimed to the left or to the right, that's where your arms and club are going to swing. So we want to make sure the shoulders are aimed just slightly left of your target. Now, let's talk a little bit about the mechanics and the stroke and chipping. First of all, when we're making a short stroke, we really don't need any hands or wrists, and we don't want any hands and wrists. We want the shoulders and the arms to work together as a unit. Okay, and we're just swinging the club back a short distance and through a short distance. Now, the importance of the setup, when we have the hands forward and the shaft leaning left, you can see that my left wrist is flat and my right wrist is bent backwards slightly. We want to keep that left wrist flat and the right wrist bent backwards during the entire stroke. If the right hand gets too involved and breaks the left wrist down, we're going to have some problems. And you can see how the club head come up. So we're going to go down and through it. We're going to keep the hands passive and the wrist firm. Very similar to putting, where the shoulders and arms control the stroke. Just back and through. Very important tempo is equally as important in chipping as it is in putting, pitching, as well as the full swing. So you want to keep your tempo smooth, and it's like putting tempo. Always try a little shorter back, a little longer through with no excess speed. Keep it smooth, and that'll help you control your distance. Let's talk a little bit about the strategy of a chip shot, and it's very important to visualize how the ball rolls once it lands on the green, because once the ball lands on the green, the chip shot turns into a putt. So you have to read the green correctly and visualize, is it breaking to the right, is it breaking to the left, is it uphill, is it downhill, and then you want to select your target where you want to land the ball. Okay, and always land the ball safely on the green whenever possible, because if you land it here, you can control the distance better. If you run it up through the fringe, it's a little more difficult to control your distance. Sometimes you don't have an option if you're going on a down slope where you can't land the ball on the green, or it'll roll off the green. So whenever possible, land the ball safely on the green, let it roll to the hole. Now, one of the most important things is you want to select a club that allows you to make the shortest stroke possible to land that ball safely on the green and let it roll the rest of the way. For this first shot, which is relatively short, and we've got a little bit higher grass here than fairway height, we want to land it here and let it roll the rest of the way. And obviously it looks to me like there might be a little bit of a slope to the right, but more importantly, it's just a little bit uphill. Now, the last thing about part of the strategy before you select your target, you want to think about where you want to putt from if you don't chip the ball in. And always try to leave yourself with an uphill putt or flat putt with little or no break. Okay, now we're going to figure out where we're going to aim. I'm going to aim right here. So now it's important that you take some practice strokes to get some feel for the length of the stroke you want and the tempo. And always try to make the same length practice stroke with the same tempo that you want to use for the shot. And as you can see, this is a pretty short shot. If I come up here and I take a practice swing like this, I'm really not getting some feel for the stroke I want to use. So get some feel, take at least one or two good practice strokes, and then try to make the same stroke when you're playing the shot. So now we'll talk about this shot. And I'm going to take my two practice strokes, and I'm going to use my eyes, look at where I want to land the ball. Now I want to aim the club face to that target. Make sure my shoulders are just slightly left of that target. And here we go. Go in. Hit the hole. Now, I'm glad that flag stick was there, otherwise I'd probably have about a 5-footer coming back, but as you can see, I need a little bit of practice. So practicing your short game, and chipping in particular, will help you learn to control your distance. Now, we're going to do a second shot, which is to the next flag, which is a little bit longer. So instead of using the pitching wedge and flying the ball much further out here, we're going to change clubs. I'm going to go to an 8-iron, which has less loft than the pitching wedge. And with less loft, the ball will roll more. Okay, and that's going to enable me and you, when you try this, to make the same length stroke that we just used for the wedge, or keep your stroke shorter. If you have to go to use a more lofted club, you have to make a bigger stroke, bigger swing, and therefore more things can go wrong. The shorter the stroke, the easier it is to control. So we encourage you to try different lofted irons and wedges for different type chip shots. So let's give this a try. And not much break here, just a little bit uphill. So I have an 8-iron for this shot. And again, I'm going to look at where I want to land the ball. Try to take a couple good practice strokes and get the feel. Make sure we're lined up with that club face and the shoulders. And here we go. And you can see that ball rolled a lot more with the 8-iron. And I'm going to have to take a mulligan on that one. That wasn't so good for me. And obviously, Hugh Vaugh needs some practice with the chipping. So let's try one more. Wasn't real solid, but it wasn't a bad miss. Okay, and you can see how the ball rolls more with the 8-iron than it did on the first shot with a pitching wedge. But I hope that these chipping techniques and the fundamentals will help you with your short game, chipping in particular, and we encourage you to practice, and we're here to help you if you have any problems with your chipping. And really, this is a part of the game that can save you a lot of strokes, allow you to have more fun, lower your scores, and lower your handicap. So we hope that these chipping tips and information will help you be better with your chip shots. We wish you all the best and have a great year at Bonita Bay Club.